Good morning. Thank you everybody for tuning in for the program today, all about the creatures of the night, the animals that come out at nighttime, like the owls. We'll talk a little bit about owls. I know we've learned a lot about them throughout many different classes that we've had here. And we'll talk about the mammals that go bump in the night, even a few amphibians and other birds that we don't always stop and think about that come out at nighttime. I want to start off though with an animal that is not technically nocturnal, but it's what we call crepuscular. There are a few animals that like to come out at dawn and dusk. They're less active than in the middle of the night. So if we take a look here, we have the cottontail rabbit. Yeah, those rabbits are out in the daytime. We do see them in the daytime, but they're more active at dawn and dusk. Here we have an adult and a small little nest of the baby bunnies. Of course, those nests of the baby bunnies are just down in the grass. Maybe they'll put lots of grass and leaves, even sometimes their own fur, other animal fur lining that nest. And of course, that's what we typically see in the summertime when we go looking for those cottontail rabbits. Well, they're still active in the wintertime. They're moving around amongst that snow that might be down on the ground at this time of the year, eating some seeds that they find, chewing even on those dried branches. Well, one thing that you see in this picture, and we'll talk about this throughout the program today, are the eye shines of that rabbit. So this picture was taken at nighttime. You can see the reflection of the light on its eyes. Most mammals, and even birds and reptiles and amphibians, have eye shines. When a light hits their eye, they reflect a different color. Every animal's eye shine is a different shade compared to another animal's. Sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's red and orange. Some of you might be most familiar with our other crepuscular animal, the white-tailed deer, whose eyes can shine a shade of yellow and green, but sometimes it might even look white in color, depending on how you see the shining light reflecting off of their eyes. So yes, deer are, like the rabbit, also crepuscular, coming out and being more active at dawn and dusk. Of course, right here we have the males. Little warning right now, it's mating season for those deer, so they are a little more active anytime trying to find a mate, but especially at dawn and dusk, and especially running out across the traffic. So be real careful as you're driving in early morning and as that sun is setting, especially since that sun is now setting at 5 o'clock. So be careful. Keep your headlights on so that you get to see those eye shines. Those deer, when they are active, as I, of course, love to go out and find signs that they leave behind, like a place where they were laying down throughout the nighttime. Here's another place that you would find more so in the winter, where the deer were bedding down overnight. You can see the shape of their body. But then they also, of course, love to look for the other signs that they leave behind, like their droppings, okay, their poop, or scientifically, their scat. Because, of course, we can learn a lot about the signs that different animals leave us so that we don't only have to rely on seeing them at nighttime when they are active. We can see those signs in the daytime. We can know that they were out there before we got out there, and it'll help us also continue to know where they're going to be on future days. So here's a picture of several bucks, or several deer. I know the one in the front here is a buck. I can see its antlers right there. That one looks like a doe, but we can see those eye shines. I always like to count the eye shines. You know, each animal has 2 eyes shining back at us, and then we can kind of figure out how many are off in the distance. Well, my next picture, I want to take us back to spring and summer. I know it's fall, we're getting ready for that winter time, but in the spring and in the summer, we have our nocturnal amphibians that are the most active at night. Not only are they the most active at night, they're the noisiest at night. The trill of the American toad, or maybe the loud rumbling of the bullfrog. And then in the evening, we look out, we can see the eye shines of that bullfrog and all the different frogs and toads. Well, right now, we're not going to hear our frogs and toads. We won't even hear the banjo player in this band of frogs. This is the green frog. Green frogs are one of our last amphibians to actually go into hibernation. I remember seeing them in my backyard pond in December and January. Once it gets really cold, though, they're going to burrow down just like the toads and the bullfrogs and the spring peepers, and they're going to head on down under the mud where it's warmer under that mud in the wintertime than it is up in the water, and they will hibernate. And then next spring, we will get a chance to hear and see them again. Just as the ground starts thawing out, our smallest frog will come out of hibernation, and it will begin peeping by the end of February even. And that's a spring peeper, our tiniest frog that lives here in Lancaster County. Now, I do have one picture, because I couldn't help but put this picture in my PowerPoint, of an animal who we won't find in the Conestoga River or in any of the ponds here at Willow Valley this week anyhow. Kind of like I say about the bears, aren't in Lancaster County this week, but you never know when they might turn up. Let's hope this one doesn't turn up. Can you figure out the eye shines that are bright red from this reptile that we, of course, have to go down south to see? Yep, let me go back to this one where you just see the eyes coming up over the water, and here we can see its whole head. That's right, it's an alligator. Now, I love going to Florida to visit family. I love going kayaking down there, and I would love to see the swamp like this at nighttime. Yeah, that's lots of alligators looking back. But like I said, we don't have them here in Lancaster County, but when we travel, we have to remember that there are animals in places that we don't have here, and it's always good to learn about them, to know what they look like, what their behaviors are, because some of those animals, like those alligators, can be dangerous to us. The red eye shine might be even telling us that they're dangerous to us. So stay away from those red eye shines when you visit down south. Some of our mammals are getting ready to hibernate. Now, I know we've had some cold evenings, but I saw bats this weekend flying around in my yard. There are still insects out there for the bats to gather up. Our most common bat here in Lancaster County are little brown bats and big brown bats. Of course, they are flying mammals. They have fur. They give birth to their young, typically in the springtime. Right now, though, they are looking for places to head inside, whether it's inside a building or a cave, in order to spend the winter time. Yes, some people get bats that take over their attic, and they can make quite a mess inside that attic. We can also have them throughout the summer hanging out in bat boxes. Now the bats aren't gonna hibernate in those bat boxes because it's still chilly inside those bat boxes, but all summer long they're hanging out in those bat boxes and then feeding on those insects at nighttime. They, of course, are the ones who do come out and get most of their food and eating in at nighttime. Remember, one bat can eat 7,000 mosquitoes in one night. So in the summer, we definitely want those bats around. They might be in an attic or an old barn throughout the winter time, hoping not to be disturbed. Because when bats get disturbed in the winter time, then their chance of survival might not be as good because there's no insects for them to eat in the wintertime, which is why bats do hibernate. We do actually have 2 species of bats here in Lancaster County that are threatened species. The Indiana bat, the red bat, and they're threatened species. Their population is on the decline, and they actually migrate. They head to better hibernating places where there are great caves, places where humans may not go in and disturb the bat population in the wintertime while they are trying to hibernate. Bats are such neat flying creatures. You do still have some time to get out there at dusk as the sun is setting. You might get a chance to see those wings and see it fly through the sky for a little while yet until they decide it's too cold and they're heading into hibernation. Or actually, there's no food out here at night anymore. I'm gonna go and stay hiding, keeping warm, and staying in this place that I have found for hibernation. But we do still have some time to see those bats flying around at nighttime. But as you're looking for those bats at nighttime while that sun is setting, you might get a glimpse of another mammal who some people say fly. That's right, the flying squirrel, who is really not flying like the bats are flying. If you notice the bats, let me go back here, they have wings. Their hand, their arm bones, and their fingers are all part of their wing. Whereas the flying squirrel, go over here, it's not a wing as much as it is an extra flap of skin underneath their arm there, which allows them to be able to fly or glide from treetop to treetop. Now the flying squirrel is much smaller than that gray ground squirrel. That gray ground squirrel that's running around all outside in the daytime, down on the ground, up the trees, eating all of the nuts that are on the ground, or visiting your bird feeder, because of course the gray ground squirrel sometimes pretends to be a bird, whereas the flying squirrel, who comes out at nighttime, is visiting bird feeders at nighttime. I welcome the flying squirrels in my yard. I would love to have them all over my bird feeders at nighttime while I'm not there watching them, because they're so small, they're so cute. Even when they eat their nuts, they're more efficient than the gray ground squirrel. When the flying squirrel finds a nut and it eats the nut, it chews a hole in that nut and it goes right for the nut, the meat, the food that's inside that nut. Whereas when the gray ground squirrel chews on its nuts, it cracks and breaks them into 100 little pieces down on the ground. I know some of you know what I'm talking about. You see those walnuts and those hickory nuts as you walk along the trails or the pathways here at Willow Valley, and you see all kinds of little pieces of nutshells. Yeah, that's from the gray ground squirrels. The flying squirrels, though, take a look at some of those nuts next time you're out walking along the paths. If you pick one up and it has a hole right on that nut, one hole, sometimes two holes, depending on the nut itself, you will see that, yeah, there are flying squirrels right here, even at Willow Valley at nighttime. And again, while you're looking for any other nocturnal animal and you look up into the tree, you shine a light on it. This is the eye shines of the flying squirrel. The flying squirrel eye shines are a little more red and amber in color. Well, now the ones that we, of course, know come out at nighttime, they hoot, they holler, they let us know that they are out there, like the great horned owl. Of course, the great horned owl is our classic hoot owl, hooting anywhere from 3 to 5 times in a row, saying hoo, 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 hoo. And some of you might be hearing more owls now, and if not now, in the next couple of weeks, because owls are starting to court. Owls are starting to make more noise here in November, December, and January, getting ready to raise their young, lay their eggs by January inside their nest. You might even hear a long-eared owl. Now we know there are great horned owls that live around here at Willow Valley, but there could be long-eared owls. They're the thinner, skinnier version of the great horned owl. And they're the ones who, when they hoot, they actually sound a little bit more like a barking dog. The long-eared owl is the one who says, "Huff, huff, 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 huff." So sometimes you have to remember it might not be a dog barking out there. Huff, 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 huff. It might be an owl. It might even be a mammal like the red fox, which we'll talk about in just a little bit as we get through a few more of these birds, like the screech owl, a small owl who looks a little like a great horned owl, having those feather tufts at the top of its head. The screech owl is more common. A lot of people often hear the sound of the screech owl and say, I've heard that at nighttime. They're the ones who live in our neighborhoods and our backyards that we might not even know that they're out there until one night we go out at nighttime and we hear them. And they're the ones who say, ooh, and the first part of that screech owl call is the whinny. And the second part is the tremolo, the sound of the screech owl. Our dark-eyed, black eyes in the daytime, although the barred owl, here it is at nighttime, red eye shines. Most owls have a reddish colored eye shine. Sometimes it'll look a little more orangish. I know when I've seen screech owls and shine my light on screech owls, I get more of an amber color that I've seen compared to the deep red that you see in this picture of the barred owl. The barred owl is the one who has the bars and the stripes. They're the ones who hoot any time of the day. They'll hoot in the middle of the daytime, but they're very known for hooting early in the morning. Barred owls kind of want all the other animals to know that they're out there, whether it's daytime or nighttime. And the barred owl is going to hoot. They're the one who hoots 8 times in a row. Scientists have put a little phrase to what the barred owl is saying when it hoots 8 times in a row. We'll see if you can figure it out. They're the ones that say, they are saying, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? the barred owl. They're the ones who often will be found along creeks and rivers and ponds. They love to go fishing or crayfishing, and they love to eat those types of species. One owl does not hoot. Barn owls. Barn owls are the only species of owls that do not hoot. They say, they hiss. Now, barn owls, when you look at their face, gives them a common name. Some people call them monkey face because of that heart-shaped face that they have. But they get another name because, well, when they open up their wings underneath, under their chest, it's all white. And they are the true nocturnal animal who's white, flying through the sky. And as they fly through the sky and you see that white image and they say, some people call them ghost owl. Of course, all owls, as they fly through the night sky, they fly silently because of a unique adaptation on their wing, that when all owls flap their wing, it is a silent flap. Whereas every other bird, when they flap their wings, you hear them coming. Owls are the true stalkers. They don't make a sound in flight. They don't hoot while they're hunting. They don't want to give their location away when they're trying to catch their prey. This last owl that I have for us today is the smallest owl that lives here in Lancaster County, called the saw-whet owl. It's the one you may have seen on license plates as you drive down the road on the car in front of you. Wild Resource Conservation Fund, that's the saw-whet owl. They are the owl who says, "Too, too, 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 too," over and over and over again. They're the too, 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 too sound makers. Now, the saw-whet owls and the screech owls will be out there at nighttime trying to catch some insects. Because think about summer when those moths are out there, like Polyphemus here, who's flying around. Well, that makes a great meal for those smaller owls. And our moths are nocturnal, but a lot of them are very camouflaged. They really blend into their environment, or they have unique colors that warn some animals. Here's the owl moth. Well, it does. It looks just like a screech owl flying around. You can see those large eye spots that lots of moths have. It's a good way to protect themselves. If you're the bird who wants to eat the moth and you go flying towards the moth and you see those eyes looking back at you, well, you might not get eaten for dinner that night. This Luna moth, though, not as lucky maybe, as this screech owl comes and it finds that Luna moth there sitting on the log. It looks like it's going to become dinner for that screech owl. Well, animals are out at nighttime for several different reasons. One, it's safer, and you can find your dinner while you're out there at nighttime. It's also because the daytime isn't a safe place for you. So you're more active at night looking for your dinner or looking for a mate. Now this next picture, this animal is going to have 8 eyes looking back at you. Ah, the spiders. Spiders are out all throughout the summer, but now they are the biggest. Now is the time of the year where they're laying their egg masses, getting ready for the next generation. But as you look at this cool wolf spider, can you see all 8 of its eyes? 4 up here, 4 down here. And they do also produce an eye shine. You know, if you've ever looked out into the grass at nighttime where your headlights shine and you see all these little dots, That's probably lots of spiders down there looking back at you. Here's a wolf spider. Now here's a wolf spider in the daytime. One of the unique things, and I love this about wolf spiders, and right now is the time of the year actually to see this, where you will see the wolf spider with all of her babies crawling on her back. See, in the summertime when the wolf spider has her egg mass, she holds her egg mass under her belly, under her abdomen for weeks until they all hatch. And then when they hatch, they ride around on her back for another week or two until they're able to go off on their own. So I think this picture here is cool because it's a wolf spider where you can see the wolf spider's eye shines here in the front of its head. And then you can see several of the baby wolf spiders' eyes shining on the back of mom. So looking out into the grass, I know I look just on my back porch up above me where lots of spiders build their webs. They catch lots of food there. I had some great wolf spider webs and still have them on my back porch right now. So take a look at those. Look out, see those little dots at nighttime where all those spiders are. Yeah, we can even identify spiders at nighttime just by looking at the pattern of their eyes. So the wolf spider, I showed you that close-up picture of it where you have the 4 eyes here and then 4 eyes back there, whereas web orb weavers will have a pattern that looks more like this, a little spread out. And then the cool jumping spiders, their eyes are a little closer together, so making different patterns for us to know which spider it actually is. And then I love, especially at this time of the year when it's chilly out there in the morning, we get that frost, we get that dew, and you look out over a field and you see all the little spider webs. As you head on down the road, you can see the spider webs up on the tall plants, down low. And that's where they all would have been the night before when you were able to see their eyes shining back at you. Now, in addition to those owls, there are a few other birds who are nocturnal, like the whippoorwill. Now, the whippoorwill has a unique call. Okay, not too unique. It says its own name. Whippoorwill, whippoorwill. That's the sound you'll hear at night from them. And they are designed to hunt those moths, to eat insects at nighttime. They have these delicate feathers and whisker-like that come away from their beak that help them to be better at hunting and catching insects. Notice how camouflaged they are also. Whippoorwills are ground nesters. So this one's actually sitting on a nest in the springtime there. But they're here year-round. We see them. There is another bird who is a songbird that we hear in the daytime, but they're more vocal at nighttime. Now it's because, yep, the mockingbird, it is the bully bird in the songbird world. It's the one who likes to pick on all the other birds. Here's a real picture of them. It likes to yell and scream and chase the other birds away, whether it's daytime or nighttime. They're the ones who are going to imitate and make the sound of the other birds. Now, I recently read an article about songbirds, and unfortunately, the population of our songbirds here in our backyards at our feeders, unfortunately, is on the decline a little bit. They talked about in this article how even other songbirds, other than the mockingbird, like robins and even bluebirds, are being a little more vocal now at nighttime. Well, it's because there's less competition of sounds. Think about daytime. All that traffic, all the horns, the noises, that are going on. So this article talked a little bit about how the birds, there's less competition, so they're a little more vocal at nighttime, and that's a good way to attract a mate, because that's why our songbirds are singing, but also to get rid of the predators, to get rid of or try and chase away some of the other songbird species so that the ones that are competing for food don't have to compete with each other. So they might have learned that technique from the mockingbird, who's always been a nocturnal singer, caller, to try and get rid of those other birds, spook them out kind of thing. You know, when you hear the weird sounds at nighttime, the things that are going bump or yelling and screaming, you might choose, I'm gonna go find a new neighborhood to live in. And so birds are competing, whether they're birds who are out at nighttime or our daytime diurnal songbirds. They have to figure out a way to have a great habitat where they don't have those predators or the other birds who are competing for the same food source. So another nocturnal bird that we don't always think of as being nocturnal because, well, we see them in the daytime. Yeah, that's a great blue heron. And that great blue heron who says, ah, 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 and yells and screams. They're out there hunting, daytime and nighttime. Their cousin, the black-crowned night heron, who's a little smaller than the great blue heron, are also out there at nighttime hunting. And they're hunting because, here, we'll move here. They're hunting with their beak as they use that beak to spear the fish or the frogs that are out at nighttime. Their food choice is out and more active at that time. So that's why you're out there using that beak in order to go hunting. Here's a picture of the great blue heron. Here, we'll use this as the pointer. Here's the little night heron and a great blue heron together along the water. Here's a great blue at a pond looking for its a dinner. So they are out there at nighttime. I'm sure there's great blue herons around the ponds here. I know I've seen them fly overhead in the daytime, and they're down there at the water's edge hunting at nighttime, while the rest of us are trying to get a good night's sleep. Now, a few of the mammals that are roaming around Lancaster County in the county park, in our open meadows and fields right around here. Again, safety at night. If you're a red fox, you're gonna spend the daytime down in your underground den. You're gonna be in your underground den where you are safe from the traffic, you are safe from the humans and other animals, and then at nighttime, you're gonna come out of that underground den and you're gonna be active hunting. Now, foxes are active year-round. They don't hibernate. You know, when we think about animals that are hibernating, of course, those bats are hibernating, because, well, at some point there won't be those mosquitoes and other insects for them to eat. Groundhogs are hibernating. Soon they will all be down under the ground, because soon there won't be any food left in my garden for them to be eating. So groundhogs will be hibernating. Our other mammals, the ones that are nocturnal that you're gonna see for the next couple of pictures, they're active all winter long. Right now, foxes are acting like bears and trying to eat a little bit more so that they have that food reserve built up so that when winter does come and there's snow on the ground, if they're not as successful every day at finding food, they can still survive. Although the foxes need to be successful every day in finding food, whether it's a mouse, whether it's a squirrel, a rabbit, a bird. They're opportunistic. Whatever they can find, they're going to have for dinner. Now here in Lancaster County, we not only have red foxes, like the one you see up here, like the pelt right here, but we also have gray foxes. And a gray fox looks really similar to the red fox, although its back is gray in color, really camouflaged up against a tree. Gray foxes are actually excellent at climbing trees. They blend into the tree environment. They blend into that bark on the tree. The red fox, though, this one here, will always have a white tip on its tail, a white furry tip on the end of its tail, whereas the gray fox does not have that. The red fox is the one that you'll see out in the farmers' fields, running across the field, running across the road, unfortunately, because they live out in more open meadows, open areas, whereas our gray fox is more of a woodland species. Gray fox is just a little smaller than the red fox, by about 5 pounds or so. Whereas larger than both of them is the coyote. Yes, even in Lancaster County, we have coyotes who are about 15 to 20 pounds larger than the foxes. The coyotes are so much larger, you can see even just in the length of the coyote pelt. And coyotes are more pack animals. They're going to work together with other coyotes in order to survive. You're going to hear more than one of them when they are howling out there at nighttime. We do not have wolves in Lancaster County. We only have red foxes, gray foxes, and coyotes. And we've always had coyotes here in Lancaster County. Their population is making a little bit more of a comeback nowadays, but it's still nice and balanced out. They're not taking over our area. But they are something, you can hear them at nighttime. You can hear multiples of them howling if you're in the right location, as with any of our nocturnal animals. They have to live in that area for us to be able to hear them. Whereas you might hear that red fox yelping, barking late at night. Again, kind of like that long-eared owl. Don't always blame your neighbor's dog for making that yelping, barking sound in the middle of the night. It could be our wildlife that's out there. By February, when it's mating season for our foxes, then that's when you're going to hear more of their yelps and calls at nighttime. Good thing in the morning is to look for their footprints, to find and see the signs that they leave behind. Yeah, their footprint looks similar to the footprint of a dog, although foxes and coyotes leave a much neater footprint. When I say neater, it's because, well, they don't walk and run everywhere like our pet dogs do. Coyotes and foxes will often walk along the edge of the woods or the edge of a pond or a creek, and they will always walk in a straight line. So when you see dog footprints, but they're in a nice straight line, that means there were foxes out there the night before, or at least since it rained. So we can tell by what we see in the daytime as to who was out there at nighttime walking around. And those foxes are out there at nighttime because, well, one of their largest food source, white-footed mice, deer mice, even voles and moles are more active at night. They're rodents. They're out there scavenging. Come on, that white-footed mouse doesn't want to be out there when the daytime flying predators, the hawks, are out there. Yeah, don't worry, plenty of them get eaten by those hawks, but they're going to come out at nighttime to stay safer. But then they better look out for those nocturnal predators that are out there feeding. The one that you might see as you drive down the road, on the road, dead on the side of the road, unfortunately, opossums. People often look at the opossums and, because oftentimes the opossum has its teeth snarled out at us. Well, opossums are the mammal in North America that have more teeth than any other mammal. They're also the ones we often see laying on the side of the road. Now, not only sometimes the opossum, it actually, if you look closer at it, it has this beautiful fur. Native Americans actually called it the white animal because the fur is super white next to the body. And I know when we see it, it's usually flattened on the side of the road. They don't look so nice. But that's only because that poor opossum was hanging out on the side of the road, having dinner, eating roadkill, when someone drove by and hit that poor opossum. Yeah, they're scavengers. They eat roadkill. They clean up our environment. So that's kind of a good thing. They're also our only North American marsupial, which means they have a pouch where the babies grow up and live. And oftentimes you can see those babies crawling all over mom's back until they're old enough to be off and on their own. Now they have one of the most unique footprints. I love the opossum's footprint because it actually looks like a hand. Yeah, they have an opposable thumb, just like we have on their back foot. That's what they use for climbing, holding on to things. This picture, you can actually see their hands. Not a lot of fur on their hands. They say opossums are the animal that will feel you coming, kind of like reptiles. Reptiles can feel the vibrations of us walking. They have no fur on their hands. They have an amazing sense of touch. But I get it. They have that long nose. They don't always look so friendly. And they're not. Okay? They've got those teeth. They run away from your trash can when they're eating your leftovers and you come outside. They're going to run off and hide. But they are good for our environment, cleaning up our environment. They love to eat ticks, I hear, so they're helping get rid of and control the tick population. Maybe they'll soon develop a liking for the dreaded non-native invasive spotted lanternflies. Maybe the opossum will be the one that saves the world from those spotted lanternflies. Who knows? Anything is possible. But as you look at the eye shines on this next picture, you can see how one side looks a little more orangish and rusty in color, whereas the other side looks more bright white or yellow in color. Like I mentioned before, sometimes just because the book says they're going to have an amber colored eye shine, they don't always have an amber colored eye shine. One of the things I often look for at those eye shines is the distance between the two eyes, so that you can tell by just seeing the eye shines kind of whose eyes are up there. Okay? By learning the placement of the eye shines, you can kind of begin to learn that some animals, their eye, go over here, trying to figure out where to move today to show you the things that I brought along. I knew no one was going to be here to see some of the furs and the skulls, but I still like bringing them along because it's something I think is important for you to take a look at, like the eye sockets and placement. Here's a raccoon. whose eyes are a little further apart than the opossum, whose eyes are closer together. We can learn a lot about an animal by looking at their skulls, not only their eyes, helping us to be able to figure out who they are at nighttime, seeing those eye shines. We can learn a lot about them by looking at their teeth and what it is that they like to eat. Are they carnivores? Are they herbivores? All kinds of great things we can learn from the skull of an animal. And now I left my remote all the way over there. We'll move to this one. Here's the picture of the raccoon. You can see those eye shines. Another thing I think about when I'm looking for eye shines, not only the distance between those eyes, but where am I seeing those eyes? Like just 2 weeks ago now, as I was leaving the park around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and it was dark, and I'm driving down Gulf Road, and I saw some deer off in the distance, and of course the eye shines of the deer were really high up off of the ground. I shined my headlights towards a tree because I saw 4 eyes down on the ground at the base of that tree. And I knew right away they were probably raccoons, just by the fact that it was 4 eye shines right next to each other, 2 young ones kind of looking at the base of the tree off and looking towards me like this. They were so close together that it's the time of the year where young raccoons, siblings, are still together. Moms chase them away, but they might still be hanging out together, trying to find food together. And when I saw those 4 eye shines looking towards me, I knew right away they were raccoons. I did get a little closer with my car's headlights and confirmed that it was 2 raccoons down at the base of the tree. Now those eye shines could have been way up in the tree, because raccoons, just like opossums, will climb the tree. Here's the footprints of the raccoons. Real common footprint to see down along creeks and streams in the mud. They have a very large back foot, and then their front foot is a little smaller than the back foot, but looks very similar to its back foot. They do have 5 toes on the front foot, 5 toes on the back foot, often by the water because, well, most animals have to head towards the water, whether it's because they're finding food in and around the water, but also to stay hydrated, drinking that water from the creek. I think when it comes to looking for an animal's droppings, yep, the poop again, here she goes, talking about that poop and scat. But again, we can learn so much. I love to find raccoon scat in my backyard like that, because then I know which birdseed the raccoons were eating at nighttime in my backyard. Are they eating the millet? Are they eating the sunflower seeds? And of course, it changes throughout the year when there's different plants, seeds available to those raccoons. So another good way of identifying not only who it was walking around by their footprints or by their droppings, but also what is it that they're eating at that time of the year. So our little masked bandit, they like to find that food anywhere they can find that food, our raccoons. And there's those eyes shining from the raccoons. So now you're probably thinking, all right, when is she going to talk about the one you don't want to come in contact with while you're out there? I saved the best for last, the skunks. Yeah, if you noticed, all of the animals I've talked about already are camouflaged. Their fur, they blend in to their environment. They blend into the trees. They blend into the grasses. It's browns and grays in color. Not the skunk. That skunk having that nice white stripe down its back and on its tail, that skunk wants you to see it. That's your warning. You know, I go outside on my back porch many times throughout the night to look around, to listen what birds, what mammals are being active. And it's the thing I don't want to see, this white stripe at the base of my bird feeder. And I can count the 3 times that I've opened the back door and I saw that white stripe at the base of my bird feeder. I went back inside. That was my warning. If I didn't heed to that warning and go back inside, the skunk might give me a second warning where the tail goes up into the air. But that skunk's not nice enough to give me a third warning. That skunk's not going to yell at me and say, "Hey, get inside before I spray my musky smell in your direction," because that's how the skunk protects itself. By showing you itself, by spraying at its predator, the thing that might want to eat the skunk for dinner, it protects itself. Skunks have short legs. They have tiny little heads, tiny little teeth. They really can't outrun the fox that wants to eat it for dinner, so they spray. And that musky smell will usually deter anything from eating that skunk for dinner. Now, the white stripe is not the same on all skunks. Some skunks have much more white than other skunks, but they will always have a small little white spot either on the top of the head or a small spot on the back. Not always on the tail, but sometimes, because they want to let the predators know, "Hey, I'm here. Look, run away or I will spray you." Some people refer to skunks as polecats. Okay, here's the eye shines. Now, I would never put the bird seed right on my balcony because I definitely don't want the nocturnal animals on my balcony or my deck. I leave them out there at the actual feeder so that they don't get too close, especially the end of the summer and now when there's young or yearlings out there traveling around together. I definitely don't want to see 3, 4 skunks at the bird feeder or on the back porch. But I do love looking out there at nighttime, whether it's in my own yard, whether it's while I drive down the road or I'm in the county park, for those different eye shines. I want to know what animals are out there watching me. I want to know what animals are living in their habitat and get to know how often you can see them moving around. But again, don't bring them too close to your back door, okay? Even though it looks like this is cat food doesn't always only attract cats. It will attract the other wild animals. I'm going to take a look down to Sue and see if there's any questions from anybody today.
I have just one comment for you. A resident is very thankful for your presentations and always enjoys them. And she is sending you a video that she would like you to enjoy that she has taken.
Great, thank you. I am super thankful and grateful for all the programs that I've been able to do here in the last several months. Even though you all aren't here in the room with me, I know you all are out there watching. I've also really enjoyed finally being able to do some nature hikes with some of you. So we are going to continue to schedule all of these programs. I love your suggestions of programs. I love when you share videos and pictures with me through email. Keep doing that because I enjoy it. And some of you asked last week if we could do a night hike, a Creatures of the Night hike. Yep, I already talked to Jen. We're going to schedule that. So be ready to come out to the park to take a night hike, listen, look, and see what we hear and see.
I have one more comment that came in with a question. A couple weeks ago, a friend on the ground floor of the North building on the parking lot side found a raccoon staring at her cat that was sitting just a few inches away on the other side of the screen door. Any comments about raccoons roaming around the parking lot searching out cats?
They're searching food, and a cat is not food to a raccoon, okay? Unfortunately, I'll tell you like it is, a cat could be food for that owl, a cat could be food for foxes, but not raccoons, okay? Raccoons are opportunistic. They'll eat some meat, but they're more herbivores and eat vegetables. But that doesn't mean it won't get into a fight with a cat, okay? Still feeling threatened, so try and keep your house pets, especially at night, inside. Hey, don't let them out there at nighttime, because that's when our hungry animals, as you may have learned today, are coming out looking for food. So there can be some cat fight going on between the cats and the raccoons, but don't worry, they're not going to eat each other. Great. Thank you for those questions. And as always, if any more come in, they will pass them on to me. I will reply to those questions and comments. And thank you, everybody, for listening and learning this morning about all the things that go bump at night outside. Have a great day, everybody.